Have you ever heard a story so chilling it makes the hair on your arms stand up? A tale whispered from one generation to the next, a warning that lingers long after the words are spoken? Today, we're diving into one such legend from the riverside town of Makurdi, a story about a midwife whose gift came with a terrifying price. This is the story of Madame Ine and the babies who never cried. In Makurdi, by the flowing waters of the river Benue, there once lived a woman everyone simply called Madame Ine, the midwife. She was an unforgettable figure, tall, graceful, and always dressed in immaculate white. Her hands were said to be as steady as a rock, her voice as calming as a gentle stream, and her record was perfect. It was said she had never lost a mother or a child during delivery. People from all corners of Benue State swore she was more than just skilled. They believed she was gifted by the heavens. They said she could coax a baby into the world even when all hope seemed lost. Her clinic was a humble single-room building perched on a small hill near the old bridge. It was far from modern, with just a simple wooden bed, a kerosene lamp casting a warm, flickering glow, and bundles of herbs hanging from the ceiling, their earthy scent filling the air. Despite its simplicity, or perhaps because of it, women flocked to her. They traveled for days, seeking the promise of a safe delivery, because babies born under Madame Ine's care were said to arrive with an almost supernatural ease. But there was one deeply unsettling detail, a strange and consistent anomaly that everyone noticed, but no one dared to question at first. None of the babies born in Madame Ine's clinic ever cried at birth. Not a single whimper, not a tiny wail. It didn't matter if it was the dead of night or the bright light of day, each child entered the world in complete, unnerving silence. Madame N would expertly clean the newborn, wrap it snugly in a soft cloth, and then lean in to whisper something indiscernible, something only for the baby's ears, before handing the silent child to its relieved mother. The women, overjoyed to hold their healthy babies, didn't press the matter. They were just grateful, but their gratitude would soon turn to terror. The silence of the newborns was only the beginning. Months after the deliveries, a creeping horror began to unravel in the town. The first to be afflicted was a young mother known as Mama Dogo. She had delivered her son at Madame Ine's clinic, and everything seemed perfectly normal for a while. Then, one moonless night, her neighbors were jolted awake by blood-curdling screams coming from her home. They rushed in to find her trembling uncontrollably, her eyes wide open but seeing nothing in the room. "He's calling me," she'd sob, her voice choked with fear. "My baby is calling me from somewhere cold." They tried everything to comfort her, to wake her from this living nightmare, but she wouldn't stop crying until the first light of dawn broke the horizon. The strangest part? The next morning, she had no memory of the ordeal, just a deep, lingering exhaustion. Soon, her terrifying experience was no longer an isolated incident. One by one, other mothers who had delivered at Madame Ine's clinic began to suffer the same fate. They would wake up in the middle of the night, screaming as if tormented by phantom whispers. Their stories were eerily similar, yet uniquely terrifying. Some claimed they heard the pitter-patter of tiny, invisible footsteps circling their beds. Others swore they saw shadows, shaped like crawling babies, moving across their walls in the pale moonlight. The town of Makurdi, once peaceful, grew restless. A thick blanket of fear descended upon the community. Rumors spread like wildfire in the dry season. Whispers in the marketplace grew louder, more desperate. Some people began to suspect that Madame Ine was not just a midwife, but something else entirely, something ancient and dark. They speculated that she was making a sinister trade, exchanging the baby's precious first cries for something she refused to explain. Darker rumors emerged from the nurses who had tried to work with her. They said no one could last a single night at the clinic. They claimed that long after midnight, they would hear faint, ghostly lullabies drifting from the empty building, sung in a voice that was both soothing and deeply sorrowful. The fear and suspicion reached a boiling point. One evening, a brave man, whose own wife had been tormented by these nightly terrors, decided he had to know the truth. He armed himself with courage and waited in the shadows near Madame Ine's house. As night fell, he saw her emerge, holding a flickering lantern in one hand and a small cloth-wrapped bundle in the other. He followed her from a safe distance as she walked silently toward the riverbank, humming a soft, haunting tune under her breath. Hiding behind a large mango tree, the man watched, his heart pounding in his chest. Madame Ini knelt by the water's edge, her white gown glowing in the lantern light. She slowly unwrapped the bundle and lowered it gently towards the dark, shimmering surface of the river. It was then that he heard it, a faint, choked cooing sound, like a baby trying to cry but being held back by an unseen force. The sound was so unnatural, so profoundly wrong, that a primal fear seized him. He turned and ran, not stopping until he reached the village elders, his panicked words tumbling out as he recounted the horrifying scene. By morning, a small crowd of elders and concerned townspeople marched to the clinic on the hill. They found the door unlocked. Inside, the clinic was eerily empty. The bundles of herbs were gone, the simple wooden bed was neatly folded against the wall, and the kerosene lamp was still burning, its flame dancing silently. The only thing left behind was a basin filled with clear, still water. And there, floating on its surface, was a single, perfect baby's footprint made of ash. From that day on, no one in Makurdi ever saw Madame N again. She vanished as mysteriously as she had lived. Her clinic was locked up, and eventually a new modern health center was built far away from the river, as if to erase the memory. But for the mothers who had given birth in that silent room, the ordeal was far from over. They were never truly the same. Some said their dreams were forever filled with visions of babies who would smile at them with knowing eyes, but never, ever cry. Others claimed that whenever the rain fell near the old bridge, they could hear a gentle lullaby carried on the wind, a song of sorrow and longing. Even today, the legend of Madame Eni lives on in Makurdi. Old women still gather the young, expectant mothers and warn them with solemn faces. When your baby is born and lets out a loud cry, you must thank the heavens. Silence can sound beautiful, but remember, not all silence is peace. And they say if you ever find yourself walking by the riverside late at night and the wind is just right, you might hear a soft, motherly humming. The people believe it's the spirit of Madame Ine, forever soothing the children that never cried, her ghostly lullaby echoing across the river Banu, forever searching for a peace she could never find. What do you think happened to the baby's cries? Was Madame Ine a monster, or a tragic figure caught in a pact she couldn't escape? Let me know your theories in the comments below. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into one of Nigeria's most haunting legends. If you enjoyed this story, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you do not miss our next dive into the world's most mysterious tales. Stay curious and stay safe.